Well, if you're a gun voter in Park County, you have a choice to make in the upcoming August 20 Republican Party primary. Representative David Northrup or his challenger, Paul Hoeft. Who is going to fight for your gun rights in the Wyoming House? Stay tuned, guys. We're breaking this race down for you right now. Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with Wyoming Gun Owners. The August primary is coming up very quickly now. And in Park County's House District 25, we're being asked about this primary between incumbent state rep David Northrup and challenger Paul Hoeft. We have a longtime incumbent here in Northrup and a challenger, obviously, in Paul. And the question you're asking us in this race is, how do we know who we can trust? Everyone professes to be a gun rights champion in a primary in Wyoming. So often that is not the actual case when they arrive in Cheyenne. So as gun voters, how do we know who we can count on if we send them to Cheyenne? It's a great question. Everyone knows we have a real problem here in Wyoming with Democrats masquerading as Republicans because it's the only way they can get into elected office in Cheyenne. So in this video, we cannot tell you who to vote for. What we will do is give you guys information on the candidates so you can make your own most informed decision. And I'm going to begin Representative David Northrup. David's been there for a long time in the House. He ran for the Senate in 2020. He got his butt kicked. He now got back to the House in 2022. He's now up for re-election in the House in this election cycle. Problem with David is that he does not support the Second Amendment when it counts. What do I mean by that? Well, in our previous election cycles, we have surveyed the candidates as we have this time. And David Northrup, on his survey, has told us he supports waiting periods on gun purchases, gun sales in Wyoming. More than that, he said on his survey he opposes repealing deadly gun-free zones in Wyoming. He wants to maintain our current gun-free zone policies. Now, when this survey first came in, I thought, it's probably a mistake, right? Like, surely he didn't actually mean that. So we called him, and then we emailed him, and we said, David, was that a mistake? Did you want to do it again, or did you actually mean that? And he said, no, I stand by every word on my survey. Now, the David Northrup of today has sung a little bit of a different tune because he saw how badly it hurt him in his run for the Senate in 2020. But you have to remember, when it comes to David, when a push came to shove, he supports waiting periods on gun sales, and he supports gun-free zones in Wyoming. So it's no surprise he has refused to complete his survey this cycle because he knows it's not a good thing when he puts his support for gun control in writing. More than that, the votes that David has cast on the ground here in Cheyenne have been very problematic. For example, this session, we passed HB 125, which would repeal deadly gun-free zones. Of course, Governor Gordon vetoed it. And then the real fight came down to trying to figure out, how do we get a special session convened in Cheyenne? It's pretty easy. You'd have a simple majority in the House and the Senate to call for a special session, override the governor's veto, and ram that bill down his throat. All we had to have was a simple majority. We got that in the Senate, not a big deal, but over in the House, we were short by about this many votes because David Northrup voted no on the call for a special session. All the conservatives, all the pro-gun people, all the guys who are fighting for HB 125, they voted for a special session. But when we needed him the most this session, David Northrup voted no on that call for a special session. In doing so, he killed the bill and aided all the rhinos who wanted that bill to die. And so because he won't survey, we also don't know where he stands on fix NICS mental health gun control. This is a big issue a couple years ago here in Wyoming. It's mental health gun control. A judge or a doctor can declare you prohibited as opposed to being adjudicated in a court of law with your due process rights intact. When that bill was floating around in Cheyenne, Northrup talked favorably about it behind closed doors, did not do so publicly. So we've been asking him for a couple of years, would you vote yes or vote no on fix NICS? And of course, he will not answer the question. So guys, it's a real problem here. David Northrup supports aggressive gun control. He votes against your gun rights when it really counts. As far as we know, he's never filed a pro-gun bill in Cheyenne. Not a good sign. And so at the end of the day, the recap is pretty simple. David Northrup is a mega, not MAGA, but mega rhino who has oftentimes been an enemy to gun owners here in Wyoming. Not good. Now, when it comes to Paul Hoeft, It's more the opposite. Paul has surveyed 100% pro-gun with WIGO. And what that means is that Paul has put his views on your gun rights in writing. And he's pledged to be a leader in the fight for gun rights by vowing to sponsor pro-gun bills. You can see Paul's survey right now, for example, on our website. You can print it off and read all the questions for yourself. But we're trying to find leaders. We're trying to find guys who will fight to advance our gun rights, not just vote pro-gun when they're told to do so by leadership. So Paul will sponsor the bill, for example, to repeal deadly gun-free zones, the bill that David here is opposed to. He will support a call for a special session if the governor vetoes a pro-gun bill, the same vote that David Northrup would not cast. He is opposed to any effort to pass fixed NICS or red flag gun seizures here in Wyoming, and is a huge offender of stand your ground law. We still today, we keep hearing this today from rhinos who want to take another look at Wyoming's stand your ground law and make some tweaks. And that's code for weaken it, gut it, destroy it. We keep hearing that. We will always fight to oppose that. He agrees, Paul's on our side on this issue as gun voters, and he will oppose any attempt to weaken stand your ground law. So the recap here is pretty simple. Paul Hoeft, 100% survey, wants to lead in the fight for gun rights, a true fighter for the Second Amendment. And David Northrup opposed to repealing, supports gun-free zones, supports waiting periods in Wyoming, will not vote to advance procedural motions to override gubernatorial vetoes, will not survey dangerous stuff from David Northrup. Guys, if you see Paul, thank him for his strong support. If you see David, ask him to apologize for all of his support for gun control in the past. Guys, that is our recap in this race. Do me a favor, share it on social media. Make sure everyone has the facts on these two candidates. And to get more involved today, guys, go to joinwygo.com.